one point, I think I was getting close to like 10 million US. I go home, I made $500,000, so lost $500,000. I was looking for different opportunities, change of scenery. It was Canada, US, or Australia. US, Silicon Valley, vibe didn't kind of feel right for me.
It went from probably extreme positivity to extreme negativity, with a lot of people taking probably on debt. Cash is so important in businesses, but until it hits the bank, that's not yours.
My services company in 2 to 3 years could be just out of business because.
Julian, welcome.
Hi, David.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here.
So the World Cup is coming to North America. Are you going to any games?
I am not.
No?
No. I'm a big football fan, but I kind of gave it up a few years ago.
Because
watching the game.
you're originally from...
I'm originally from England. I was a Liverpool fan. Well, still am, but I just don't watch I don't have the time to watch full games of football anymore.
Are you a hockey fan?
I am not really. I've been to some of the games. I've been to some live games. I enjoy going to a game when I do, but I could never get into hockey like I was into football or soccer, I should say.
I feel like once you're in soccer and you're in like a warm outside environment, going to a cold arena, it's a completely different mindset.
It's very different, but I do like the speed of hockey. And the first hockey game I went to was like 5-1. I was like, oh, you can go to a football game and it could be 1-0.
Right.
Really exciting game. It's like, wow, 90 minutes, one goal.
Have you ever been to a Liverpool game?
I have, yeah.
How's the experience there?
It was amazing. I actually went and stood in the Cop a couple of weeks before it was taken down, when it was standing. So it's all cedar. Stadiums are all cedar now. But I was actually stood right in the middle of the Cop end, 20,000 people. And Liverpool started the first minute. Ian Rush came forward, scored, and the crowd, 20,000 people, just moved forward like 10 feet, and you just get carried with it. And then everybody celebrates, and then it like moves back.
Oh my God.
It was crazy. And so I see why they're all cedars now, because that was kind of dangerous.
Yeah. You could just get, you're a big guy, but a small person would get, trumbled. So born and raised in England?
Yes. Yeah. Born and raised in England. Came to Canada in 2001.
How old were you in 2001?
How old was I? I was 29.
29 years old. Yeah. So what brought you to Canada?
I was looking for different opportunities, change of scenery. I was working for a telecoms company, JDS Uniphase. So I had kind of 3 options to move within that company. It was Canada, US, or Australia. US, Silicon Valley, that vibe didn't kind of feel right for me. Kind of very kind of intense culture. And I had a young family at the time. Australia was very far away, and most people said, oh, you should go to Canada. So I came, had an interview here, and moved 4 weeks later, which was intense. I sold my house, 2 cars, uprooted my family, came 4 weeks later, yeah.
And at that time, 2 kids, what are the ages?
I had 1 daughter, and my wife was pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So young family.
Young family, yeah.
And your wife at the time was, let's do it type of thing?
Yeah. I mean, give her some credit. She went along with it. So she came. Yeah, it was a big change.
And in England, you have a brother?
Yeah, I have a brother. I have some other half brothers and sisters as well. So.
And then when you came to Canada, you worked for JDS.
Yeah.
And how long were you there for? And what did you do?
I was managing a software team, engineering team, and I think I stuck it out for about a couple of years. So as soon as I arrived, it was when the .com implosion kind of happened. So I had to start laying people off and go through all that. It was a pretty negative environment there, and yeah, I took a package and started my own company within 2 years.
Was there a lot of hype around the .com age? Like, did you see like what was going on during that time?
It was,
because I'm gonna try to relate it to the AI hype now, because you've seen the full cycle of both.
I saw the full cycle of that. It was very much a boom and a bust. So, I was working for a company that was about 80 employees, got bought by JDS Uniphase on a cash deal. I'd done some really great work there and made the company really efficient. Like just added a lot of software systems, made a huge difference. So they gave me a huge option package. which was great. It was like winning the lottery. So there's this rocket ship just flying, and every morning you're just on the website looking at the Nasdaq, seeing how much you're worth today, and it was crazy. It was crazy, and I was in my 20s, and it was just the worst possible time for me to have that level of power, shall we say? Because I was not ready for it. But it came down very fast, very fast. And I was locked in my options. I was locked in, and the day I could sell my shares, the stock price had been coming down, and it just opened break even the day I could sell. Literally went underwater that day, and stayed underwater I until I left. When I gave my notice, my options were about to expire, and there was a bit of a spike, and the price just kind of came up, and it was just like a few cents above the strike price, and so I thought, oh, I can make a little bit of money here. So I think it was like $1,500, and I called a broker. I said, yeah, sell these, and he thought I was crazy because it was like tens of thousands of shares that I'm selling for like a few cents, but I was about to lose them all. So I did see something out of it. It was about $1,500 and a move to Canada. So
So at the height of it,
Mhm.
what would have been the value of them?
I
Like
think,
when you were looking at the
yeah,
top in the 20s.
at one point, I think I was getting close to like 10 million US,
Wow.
and that was like 20 years ago. So
Wow. That's like
today's,
$100 million here
yeah,
now.
yeah, it was crazy.
So 10 million, you're seeing the numbers, you're doing the calculations. Are you
Yeah.
doing the calculations like daily at this point? Are you
Constantly. I would have the Nasdaq open, and it would just be, refreshing constantly. It was crazy. I go home, and my wife would say, "Oh, yeah, have a good day," and I say, "Oh, made $500,000 or lost $500,000." It
Holy-
was those kind of swings, and it's it's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your mental
and what
health.
was the culture at that point with the team? Like your colleagues, were you guys spending money? Like you had the $10 million in your bank? What
I
was it?
definitely did. I went crazy. My banks were just falling over, give me money, more credit cards. So I definitely leveraged, thinking, well, this isn't going to matter. Bought a much bigger house that I couldn't afford, but it actually worked out because the house prices kind of went crazy. So I only was in that house for a year before I came to Canada, but I managed to make a lot of money on that house, which kind of offset some of the stupid decisions slash purchases I had made.
So you were able to go to the bank and be like, "Here's where I work.
Yeah,
Here's the value.
yeah,
Now I want to buy a house that is 5 times my salary,
yeah,
essentially."
yeah, yeah,
And they would give you the mortgage. Like
yeah. It
it
was
was like
not. It was not a problem.
not a problem.
Yeah, not a problem. Cars, houses, anything.
So you're living the high life.
Yeah.
Your mind is wishing and hoping. And are you at the point where it's this is my money? Like did it ever, or is it more like that fantasy of when it comes to me? Like, was there any doubt at
There,
that
there
point?
was definitely a little bit of doubt
Okay.
because some part of it didn't seem real because I always thought growing up, nothing is ever going to get handed to me.
Mm,
I'm always going to have to, make my own way, and anything I do, I'm never going to win the lottery, right?
mm,
That I'm just not that kind of person,
okay.
right? So yeah, it definitely did not seem totally okay. And I mean, there were warning signs as well, right?
Mm,
I mean, JDS was valued at $150 billion, never turned a profit.
mm.
It was all pretty much hype, you know. Um, so definitely some correlations from that to kind of what we're seeing today. But with AI, there's something real there.
Right.
So
So, and then when the price started going down and you've taken on debt, where was your mindset there? Like, were you like, oh shit, like
there was definitely,
people are now starting to get let go, probably a negative culture. Like it went from probably extreme positivity to extreme negativity with a lot of people taking probably on debt,
yeah,
thinking that they're going to get this lottery winning.
yeah, it was definitely. I mean, JDS buying that company kind of killed the company.
Mm,
Even when things were going well, it did kind of kill the company because everybody was so productive, so focused But when everybody had these options and there was this whole big picture thing, everybody was just caught up in it. So nobody was as productive as they were before. They were all kind of just, yeah, maybe coasting a little bit and just kind of waiting to see what happened. So it was a bad thing for that company that I was working for. But yeah, when it all started to come down, it was like, I remember being like, oh, this is bad. Like
Mm,
and I don't know. I think I had probably racked up like something like £150,000
mm,
in debt.
mm,
But and before this whole thing had happened, I was very financially, I was kind of, you know, I was pretty conservative and I was sensible. And it's like, oh my God, this money needs to be paid back.
mm.
And the house definitely saved me because we bought this house and made some really good money on that in a year, which was, that was good.
Because I see this in business a lot where these business owners, they just won 40 under 40,
Mm,
OBJ, fastest growing business, Canada, nationally, all these things.
right.
And then 3 years later, they're filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Like, at what point do you go all in and take your chances and be conservative? Like there's the fine line between different emotions that go on with growth and like this is gonna work,
Yeah.
be narrow-minded and go after your goal versus like, okay, have a little, the other side of the coin is the risk and making sure that you're a little conservative to protect yourself, right?
Yeah. And so with me, there's definitely been a change with age.
Mm,
Right. So when I started out, I would take kind of some crazy risks. I was always kind of pushing the envelope. I'd be hiring when I wasn't totally sure I'd be able to pay for people. Just always having faith that okay, this is all going to work out. Everything's going to be great. So definitely took a lot of risks that I shouldn't. Um, I added a lot of stress to my entrepreneurial journey that I didn't have to.
mm,
And there's a lot of things I wouldn't do today, right? That level of risk I would just not take today. But back then, there was kind of this culture as well. I would hear about people being like, yeah, we were down to almost zero in the bank and I had to run payroll on my credit card. And then the next thing we sold for $1 billion. And it's like that, those stories are great and they're very inspiring, but they don't happen very often. Most of the time, when you're putting payroll on credit card, you're the next step is you're pretty much done,
right,
right? You don't come back from that. There's a death spiral for companies, and most people don't come out of that once they're
right.
in there.
And I think cash is so important in businesses, and people think about like invoicing
Yeah,
and cash potentially coming in. Like
yeah,
that example for yourself is that's an invoice, right?
yeah,
You're seeing the numbers, but until it hits the bank,
yeah.
that's not yours,
No,
right?
no, no, it's not.
So you gotta, yeah. I mean, I could just see the highs and lows that went through. So now, at what point did you leave JDS? And
I think it was about 2003. I stayed there for 2 years.
okay,
Terrible environment. It was just really, really negative. It was depressing. And, I remember seeing my doctor just telling us kind of what I was going through. And she said, you've got situational depression.
mm,
I was like, okay, so my engineering brain, situational. Okay, a situation is something I can change. I need to quit my job. So yeah, so I went and just negotiated my way onto the list of the next round of redundancies. Got a package to leave, which was like really generous. That basically funded me for a year. Started my business. Started a services company. I've been doing services ever since, and then startups around it. So
and the what type of engineer are you?
software.
Okay, so
So
software engineer, and then you started your own business.
yeah.
Did did that experience propel you to be an entrepreneur?
I was always very entrepreneurial when I was really young,
How did
um,
you know that?
because I was always trying to make money from like crazy things.
Give me an example.
Well, I was writing computer software games when I was like 12 years old and trying to sell them to my friends at school. I would make model airplanes, model ships, paint them. I'd pay like £3 for the whole kit, make it, then I'd take it into school and sell it for £6. So I had this great little business making models and stuff, but that got shut down pretty quickly by the teachers. But yeah, my passion was software and writing games specifically. Yeah.
Do you think you're born with being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I do. I think some people come to it and by I guess circumstance, but I'm not an employee.
Mm.
I am just not a good employee. I'm yeah, I think like an entrepreneur, and I'm happy being an entrepreneur, and I wouldn't change it for you know a steady, long-term, stable job.
And were your parents entrepreneurs? Like, is it ingrained? Is your brother an entrepreneur? Like, was it?
No, 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 nobody. I think my dad definitely had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit, and so he died when I was around 8. So I don't know too much about a lot of what he used to do is just kind of from stories that family have told me. But he did some very diverse things. At one point, he had an art gallery, but it was also music. He did a lot of different things. Had a hotel, all these very different things. So he was definitely entrepreneurial.
And did you come from money?
No, no, not at all. So he was not a successful entrepreneur.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that, right. So, and your mom,
My mom was a stay-at-home
mm,
mom, housewife back in the day.
so,
Yeah,
so you were always interested in entrepreneurship, built
yeah,
software, started there.
yeah.
JDS happened, you got a package, and why didn't you work for someone else after, or why did you want to start your own business at that point?
Well, I think I always wanted to start my own business. My challenge when I was younger, I left school, uh, I just didn't know where to start.
Mm,
There was no internet.
mm,
I had no mentors. There was nobody that could guide me,
mm,
right? It was really tough. So I'd go to libraries, read things, but I tried to get things off the ground. And I remember having a great conversation with this company that I was trying to partner with for something I can't even remember. I think I was 16. And the guy said, "Well, can we come up to your office and have a meeting?" And I'm working out of home, and I'm 16 years old. I said, "No, no, I'll come to you." So I get on my 50cc
mm,
motorbike, go all the way down to Plymouth, which is like an hour away. Go into this meeting, and they like look at me, and they're just like they're shocked. Right? I'm
mm.
16 years old, and so they did everything, went through the meeting and everything, but he said, well, one thing is definitely your age is going to be a problem.
Right, yeah, we makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, so I tried when I was younger, but I just couldn't figure it out, couldn't get started. But I had to pay the bills, right? So I started working and just kind of got into a job. Then you get into a family, and everything. So I kind of got sucked into that.
What's the atmosphere in England from an entrepreneur perspective? Like, is it promoted? Is it kind of what type of culture is it?
I can't really talk about it recently because I've been gone for 20 years.
But when you started or when you were going through your early 20s, was there a lot of colleagues that you had that were
No, no, not really,
mm,
not really. Yeah, I mean, I just remember feeling kind of just completely rudderless,
mm,
trying to figure stuff like there was nobody I could go to. There were no incubators,
mm,
co-working, even like none of that existed. No internet.
mm.
I mean, imagine trying to figure things out with no internet and no mentors.
Yeah, because I always have this conversation with a lot of guests of like, are you born with being an entrepreneur or is it like developed? And a lot of times your environment helps you become an entrepreneur. But it sounds like your environment was nothing in regards from your family to your friends to your colleagues, where you were just very curious around that.
Yeah. I think it was, I realized at a young age, if I was going to do anything with my life, I was going to have to do it all myself,
Right.
right? And figure things out. And
Why did you realize that?
just the way I grew up.
Mm,
So my mom was a single mom bringing us up. My dad died when I was 8. I mean, he actually left when I was 6. Um, he basically left to join a cult when I
mm,
was 6. I never saw him again. He was, 2 years later, he was dead. So um, my mom didn't go to work or anything after that. She was just that time. It was just like, well, I'm staying home to look after my boys, and they were going to school,
mm.
stuff. So um, we she did it. She put food on the table. There was a roof over our head, but there was nothing else extra. So there were things I wanted to do. Um, wanted a computer. it was like I knew I was going to have to go and get that money myself, right? So I had paper rounds, I had jobs. I mean, from a very young age, I was very active, getting out there, trying to get money so I could get things and do the things I wanted to do.
And that hustling mentality,
Mm.
has it helped you in business?
Definitely,
Mm,
definitely, because I think when you're starting out, you have to hustle.
mm,
And I know there's kind of this whole hustle culture,
yeah.
which I don't totally agree with,
Right.
but there is definitely an element of hard work, and I think it lessens the older you get
Mm.
because you have the
The well,
network, you have the
yeah.
experience, and
Yeah.
it gets easier as you get older with the
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember even when I got let go, I mean, I still lived at home and all that. But when I got let go of the hospital, I had, $3,000 in my bank account,
Mm.
and I actually hired someone, kind of like the scenario of of what we talked about. Of there was no, I wouldn't have made payroll that
Right.
Friday, and I had no. I wasn't gonna go to my parents and be like, "Hey, mom, dad, could I have $5,000 to make the payroll?" Like, um,
Mm.
from my ego perspective, I just couldn't stomach that. But it got me so outside my comfort zone because I had to go to networking events. I had to
Yeah.
talk to people. I called my network and was just like, could I do your accounting? Could I do your bookkeeping? Can I do anything to
Mm.
make money? Which, if there was a comfort zone now, if I had that comfort, I don't know if I would have made those calls.
Right.
I don't know if I would have picked up the phone and been to an event till nine,
Yeah.
10 o'clock. Like, I think it did push me in the right direction to expand my mindset,
Yeah.
expand my comfort, to knock on doors, right? So I get the environment of the hustle culture and all that. But I think you got, especially like a 20-year-old or someone that's starting out that doesn't have that experience, to
Yeah.
be able to leverage their network and potentially pay for it.
Hmm.
You got to roll up your sleeves too,
Yeah.
and face the pain of rejection and the pain of not
Absolutely.
making
Absolutely.
money, right?
Yeah. And a lot of people won't get into entrepreneurship because of that. They don't want to deal with 100 rejections in a week, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people just can't take that.
Yeah, and I don't know, I love rejection. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know. I can't say the same, but
yeah.
I realize it's a part of life. But one thing I did do when I was younger, I did work on my mindset a lot. So there were, few books that I read that made a kind of lasting impression. Think and Grow Rich
Mm,
was a really important book for me. Um, and there was a car boot sale in one day, and there was a CD set, Tony Robbins, Personal Power
okay.
2, and I bought that. And so I listened to that, listened to it again and again. That was huge for me because I'd never been exposed to anything like that. And it was like it really kind of gave me a lot of possibilities. Right. So
And there's been about, I would say, 3 to 5 guests that mentioned that they read Think and Grow Rich
mm,
and have changed their mindset completely.
yeah.
So anyone that hasn't read it, I recommend it because it keeps on coming up.
Yeah.
So you're at what age did you start working on your mindset and start becoming more aware of situational
I
stuff?
think it was like 15, 16.
Okay, so you're
Yeah.
very younger.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually had a job. It was like a Saturday job. And the owner of this store had left a few books there, and Think and Grow Rich was one of them.
Mm,
So when the when there was no customers and I was by myself, I just pick up the book and start reading it.
mm.
So it was I was getting paid to read a book, which was awesome. So yeah, I read books there, and then I spent a lot of time in libraries when I was young,
Mhm.
because
So
it
are
was
you a big reader?
I am still am a
Okay.
big reader. Yeah, yeah.
And I think in business, a lot of information is in books, right? Like,
Oh,
you'd be
absolutely.
surprised. Like,
Yeah.
you have a sales issue, there's a ton of books that you can
I
solve those issues
I
with.
don't think there's any problem in business now that
Yeah,
has never been solved before,
correct.
right? So it's like I don't think you have to figure everything out. Somebody's already done that.
Right.
Um, so I think yeah, you just need to podcasts are great. I listen to a lot of podcasts, read books.
Your favorite one's this one,
Absolutely.
right? So after JDS, you start your
Mm,
business.
yeah.
young family still.
Yeah.
What's going on there now? Like,
That added a layer of stress to my
mm,
family life, obviously, starting a business because I really
what age were you at that time?
30, 31, I
Okay.
think. But I didn't have a network.
Mm,
I didn't really know anybody. There was a lot I didn't know. I just didn't know. I knew how to code and program. I was great at that, but getting clients and pricing projects, stuff like that. I have some nightmare stories.
mm,
Right. Well, I the one project I agreed to do for $4,000, and it took me so long.
right.
So long, and it was way below minimum wage what I actually did
Good.
it for. But the stress as well, stuff like that was just it was terrible because it's opportunity cost as well, right?
Mm.
So I made a lot of mistakes. I had to figure a lot of things out early on. So I definitely put a huge amount of strain on my family life. Um,
Were you working 12? Like, what was your schedule at that time?
it wasn't crazy.
Okay.
It wasn't crazy.
But just the stress of business?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So there was a lot of stress there. And then I guess a couple of years after that, my marriage there, that ended in divorce.
Mm,
My wife, ex-wife, went back to England with my daughters,
okay.
who were very young. So that was a really tough time.
Mm,
That was very tough. So I would be going back to England as much as I could, but that was like time, money.
right.
That was all really difficult. It was a tough time.
Wow. And they were how old at that time?
I think like 4, 2, four,
Okay.
two, something. Yeah, I mean they were very young.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your wife didn't work here, or your
No,
so
no.
she went back with her family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And do you equate it to running your business? Like, was that a big aspect of?
It was a factor. I don't think it was a
Uh,
cause. I mean, I think, the big thing there for us was just, we got together young and
mm,
we were very different people, very different interests. And, eventually when you grow apart and that's
mm.
kind of what happened.
And then after that experience, you are still in Canada.
Mhm.
What happens next?
So at that point, I'm doing my business and getting involved in different startups as well. So I did one startup, mobile application platform, as mobile was that wave was just kind of starting. I tried to ride that with a startup, raise some money. So we did that for a few years. That was a really interesting experience because that was the first time I'd built a real business. So I built a team, raised money, built a product, did that whole thing, right? And that was really interesting. I mean, some key takeaways there, but I think the big one was about taking in money and who you take it from, and there's good money, there's bad money.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I did an angel round. I had some pretty well known people in town invest as well. The government had invested, IAF fund, so a lot of money coming in. I had a few different people on the board. Got to a point where I needed to do another round, and everybody had on the board had to sign off on this. And so the first board member of the three I went to asked for his signature. He said, "Go and get the other two, then come back and I'll sign." I was like, "Oh, okay."
mm,
Go back to him, and he said, "Yeah, I'll sign, but I want you to sign this." And basically, he wanted an agreement that any major decision in the company had to be agreed by all. It was like a unilateral. Everybody on the board has to agree, including him. And so I had to sign. It was like I needed that money to keep the company going. But everything changed. I'd lost all power then. It
mm,
was just anything I tried to kind of push through. I had to get five people to sign off on it. It was impossible.
mm,
There was even a point where I thought I had a potential exit for the company. And it wasn't as much as, people would have liked, but it was, hey, this is a way people are going to get something back on their investment. And I was kind of positive about that. And I told somebody, my advisor, and he just said, that's just not going to fly. They're not going to agree to it. I said, but they'd be crazy. Why wouldn't they? He said, no, they just won't. And he was right. And he was right. They were, yeah, they just couldn't agree. And at that point, I said, okay, I can't carry on here. So I left. Company carried on for a little bit longer and then ended. So, yeah, I went on, started another company.
so that typically always happens when the CEO left. It has a couple of years of length, and then the
Yeah.
business kind of goes down. Taking in money, how does that feel? Like, and why I'm asking that, it's more for my personal, like, ex- I've never taken money from any investors,
Mm,
from anyone. The new venture that I'm in, if I do want to grow, eventually I will have to take on money from
yeah.
people. And it actually makes me even more nervous to take other people's money than lose mine or gain mine.
Yeah.
What was that process for you?
So, well, I mean, one thing I think is important, business is stressful, but when you've got other people's money, it gets a lot more stressful. So before I did this, I did like an angel round. I did a friends and family round
Mm.
as well. So I took money from people I knew, family, and that adds a whole
Yeah.
layer of stress. Like that was very stressful.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I raising money, it's when you do it, you feel like it's the right thing. And it's like, oh,
Mm.
it's great. And when you close it, it's great. And then the money hits the bank and you're like, this is awesome. Like everything's gonna be great. But I think that there's a lot attached to the ego there.
Yeah.
I still remember the day I pitched IAF. I think it was $700,000, and I'd gone through all the hoops, pitches, everything. I said, "We need you to come to Toronto. Just come into the. It's the final pitch, and you'll be good. Just go in, do the pitch, and you'll get the money." So I literally walked into a room. There were like 20, probably 20 people in there. Did my pitch, walked out. I got a call, said, "Yeah, you got your money." And it was like, and I still look back on that moment thinking that was right up there.
Mhm.
That was just a great day.
Mm.
And it was, it still is. But on the flip side, when you get through all that, once you raise money, you've got to deliver.
Yeah.
You got people to answer to,
Does it
and
control your life?
it it definitely adds a layer.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, you lose some of your power. You're giving away some of your power, basically, and freedom.
Mm.
You know, because even then, if I wanted to change my salary that I was paying, so I had to go to the board. You know, whereas if I had no investors, I could have just given myself, a little bump.
And that's why we become entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah,
It's not to listen to people to do it, kind of just do it.
exactly, exactly. And there was a time when I wanted to give myself a raise. I'd been on the same salary for like 3, 4 years. I just want a little cost of living
Yeah.
bump. Wasn't a lot. I thought, well, they'll be fine with this. And two were, I think. Then one guy said, well, I think you're being paid more than enough already.
Right.
And he was of the mindset. He said to me, he said, well, you shouldn't be paying yourself a salary at all. You're the biggest shareholder. Like, well, I got to live.
Right.
It's okay for him to say, who was, very successful person
Right.
with millions in the bank. But it's like, no, I got a mortgage to pay for and I need to feed myself.
Now, does the friends and family money different than the institutional money from?
From a psychological
Yeah.
point of view, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, the institutional investors, they're used to losing money,
Yeah.
and you feel bad when people lose money,
Yeah.
especially angel investors. It's still like, oh, this sucks. But yeah, friends and family, people that like know you and trust you, and that's it's a level of responsibility that drives a lot of stress.
Yeah. And the flip side of that is, if it does hit, like
It's great.
yeah,
It's
like,
great. You got all your friends and
yeah,
family. Thanks so much for trusting in me. Here's your checks. And it's like wonderful, right?
yeah, like
And when that happens, it's great.
yeah,
It's
that'd be a
great.
cool experience.
And I always wanted that to
Yeah.
happen. Um, but yeah, that most of the time it's the other scenario where it's like, oh, I
Because
gotta.
I saw a scenario where Jeff Bezos' sister invested at the beginning, and
Mm,
now her shares are worth like billions of dollars or
yeah,
whatever. It's like, that's cool. Like, that's
yeah,
an experience. But I could see how that, the psychology around that extra layer of pressure amounts to, for
yeah.
sure. Would you ever take money again? Would you ever go through that experience again?
The last few years I've said no,
Mm.
but this year I'm looking at some bigger opportunities, so I'm kind of open to taking money in again. But it would be, yeah, I would be very careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, very careful.
Right. Um, Strategic and, like, just money would you be looking more like strategic money versus just cash money?
I think strategic is always better, right? You want to bring somebody in, you want to have somebody invest that can actually open some doors, do some things, right? Do some things for you to help, um, rather than just drop a check, right? It's always better to have that if you can. Um, but I mean that can also kind of open up a can of worms as well, because sometimes people can be, well, I've invested, but I'm kind of special because I've done all these things for you, right? I've opened all these doors, and I should be treated better than a regular
Yeah.
investor, which I've kind of also had
And
in the past.
now I've noticed, I mean, there's the Shark Tanks and the Dragon's
Hmm.
Den and all that who have an audience, a
Yeah.
public audience, but there's now other investors that or creators building audiences that are valuing their audiences for investors too, or investments like
Right.
that is another avenue of potential investors that you can kind of go after, like the cash, the strategic, maybe
Hmm.
get you in the door, but then the audience,
Right.
right? That can distribute the audience for your business.
Yeah, and I never got into anything
Yeah.
like that, but if you're trying to launch a consumer product, something like that, then it makes total sense to try and do that, right?
Right.
Anything that's going to help you get out there.
Right. So now you've done that
Mhm.
venture. Now where are you in in the journey?
So I mean, I think I'm my services consulting business has always kind of been the
Mm.
backbone. So I always have that. So I do different startups, around that. Um, Started with a
What did talk about your business? What is it?
so it we do software consulting, so software development. The last 5 years have been focused purely on AI and automation.
And let's talk about AI.
Mm.
What's happening with AI? What are you seeing? Is it the same as 2020 where there's a lot of hype and a potential boom?
There's a lot of hype, but it's a real hype, right? When I look back at the dot-com boom and bust, that was there wasn't much there, right? It was pretty soft. Whereas AI is
Now, would you have said
good.
the same thing when you were in it though? Like, would you have saw the other side?
Um, I it always felt a little bit wrong
Okay.
back then.
Okay.
I always kind of wonder, well, who's buying all this stuff, right?
Okay.
Um, and there were a lot of circular deals as well,
Mm.
right? You look at some of those big players, Nortel, Cisco. There were all these kind of big circular deals going on, funding customers, which you're seeing in AI right now. Um, so are we in a bubble? Yeah, I think so. But it's not going to be there probably will be a bit of a correction, but it's not going to be like 20 years ago.
So, what is the bubble, and what do you think the correction will be?
I don't know. I mean, I think there'll be a hit with the stock market. I think there has to be.
Mm.
You just look historically, right? There will be a correction, I'm sure. Um, but the underlying technology, what AI can do, is good. Um, it's going to be huge, right? It's going to change a lot of things, positive and negative.
Like what?
Well, I think it's going to put a lot of people out of work. I don't see, some people will say, well, no, it just makes people more efficient. But yeah, it does, but you're not going to need as many people. And I'm already seeing that my team is smaller. I used to hire interns every semester, and I don't do that anymore. Those jobs have been replaced by AI. And on the coding side of things, those tools have come along so much just in the past year. So much like what the AI agents can do for coding now. A year ago, it would be like, okay, do this, and it would kind of go and do it, and then you'd
Give me
fix it up.
give me an example.
Well, right now you can tell it to do a pretty complex task, and it will go off. It'll build an implementation plan. You review it, say, "Yep, okay, go do it." It'll go do it, but it will test things out. It'll find problems, errors. So, maybe half of the time it spends, it's actually doing testing and fixing, whereas it wasn't doing that a year ago.
Mm.
So it's really powerful. Like you can set a pretty big process, start it, go for lunch, come back, and it's done a ton of work. And I have kind of a little passion project I was working on, um, and I've put 20 hours into this. Right, you basically vibe coding it. And when I look at what I have now, to do that a few years ago, I would have had a back end developer, front end developer, and I probably would have put 3, 4 months of work into it, and I did it in 20 hours. Like, it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And, this is coding, but you're going to see that in accounting. You're already seeing it a little bit in law, I think, but a lot of other industries, when it gets up to speed, it's just, how can that not disrupt jobs?
So, and you've seen what ChatGPT came
Mhm.
out 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What have you seen like from 3 years ago to 2 years ago, 2 years ago to 1 year ago, 1 year ago to now? Like, are you seeing things now that you can practically do that the fact that AI agents have come on? Like, has it been like a slower now exponential?
I,
Like
I think it's,
back
yeah,
to your example of the 20 hours versus three
yeah,
months.
yeah,
Last year, if you did the same thing,
yeah.
how long would it take you?
Right. That's a good question. And it probably would have been probably 60 hours
Okay.
instead of 20.
Okay.
So,
So still pretty
yeah,
good.
it's amazing.
Right.
So I use AI a lot for coding. So, I can see what's happening there. But I mean, there's other aspects of my life where I'm using it as well. Obviously, right? ChatGPT, Gemini, and just some of the projects I have set up now with the information in there. So I have different projects, different advisors for different things, right? So I've got a life coach, got a business coach, health coach. I have all these things set up, right? And the value there, the further you get down the road with it, it's just the value just keeps increasing.
So you have like a life coach, nutrition coach,
Yeah.
agent.
Yeah, projects in ChatGPT
Okay.
with all kind of my journals, you know, just all these documents for my life, right?
So,
Just gets bundled in there. So I give AI pretty much everything.
mhm.
It's like I yeah. A
And
lot of
then
people maybe wouldn't do that, but
you're not nervous about privacy or
well, uh, I think that the benefits are just too great to, I'll risk a little bit of privacy. And hey, if somebody gets access to my food log. Okay. Yeah, I had pizza yesterday.
but I guess what wouldn't you put in there? Like, would you put code in there? Would you put like, are there stuff that you're like, okay, no, I wouldn't. Your SIN number,
Um,
your
I,
tax
I
return.
mean, honestly, I don't think there's anything I wouldn't put in
Okay.
there just because of the productivity gains are so huge,
Okay.
right? I mean, it's just, what I'm finding this year for me as well is I'm looking at starting multiple other businesses this year. And like a few years ago, that just wouldn't have been possible.
Because of your efficiency.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that, okay, I can get this business and going, and AI is gonna do the heavy lifting on it,
Right.
which is amazing.
So it gives you motivation or like it gives you the like because a lot of times I don't want to start a business because I'm like I know how hard it is.
Yeah,
It's gonna be more time, extra, everything, where I might not take on an opportunity because of that.
yeah.
It flips the script on us.
It's completely flipped. Right now, I see so many possibilities, right? So before where I would be like, I got to stay focused on this.
Right.
I can't get distracted with all this. Now I'm like, oh, this other stuff. I can actually take this on and just get AI to do the heavy lifting, get my team within my services company to help out as well. So I've kind of got a really exciting plan about how I can get other ventures going and just do a lot more. And interestingly enough, part of that is kind of hedging against AI. So I'm using AI, but I'm also preparing for a world where, like, my services company in 2 to 3 years
Mhm.
could be just out of business because of AI. Right. So I've got a plan for that.
So yeah, who's gonna be the winners of AI and who's gonna be the losers of AI?
I it's a good question, and I mean, I think white collar jobs are the obvious jobs that are at risk. Um, so I just don't know. To be honest, I don't
But
know.
going back to
Hmm.
your software company that you've been running for the last 15 years has a chance of not being there in the next 5 years.
Yeah, 3 years, two to
Three.
three years, 2 to 3, I would say.
why
Yeah,
why 2 to 3 years? Is
because I mean, what we do is we develop software, right? We build, develop software, and deploy it. AI is already helping us do that, but there will be a day when AI can do all of it, right? Just take in the requirements. Okay, you want to automate this process in your accounting firm or whatever, then you could just type it in. It's going to go off and do it, build the software, deploy it, test it, then say to you, yeah, here you go.
So do you think service businesses will leverage, like, do you need a platform, or could you just like, how are people going to leverage AI then? Like
Well,
start new businesses from scratch so it's like AI native?
I think that's one thing that will happen for sure. Um,
Because if you take the accounting example,
yeah,
right? We leverage QuickBooks on, there's platforms out there
yeah,
that we leverage to get our information to do what we need for the client.
right.
Is it, hey, let's build a QuickBooks Online using AI? Or is it, hey, this is my business, get AI to personalize this client's information so that you're responding to like enhance the customer service and maybe efficiency around it?
I mean, I think it could be both. And I mean, an example I like to use as well is CRMs, right? So Salesforce.com sells a CRM. Anybody can go and sign up for a CRM, but imagine a world where you can just say to an AI, knowing everything you know about my business, create a CRM for me,
Mm.
right? So why wouldn't you just have a custom built CRM that's tailored perfectly for your business, right? Accounting is kind of an interesting one because there's tax law and standards and everything, CRA things have to be followed. But for things outside that, functional applications, a lot of people say, well, SaaS is going to die, right? So it's going to change, and maybe there will be these, AI applications that you can just spin up and deploy. You know,
Actually, did you go to the SaaS conference in Ottawa?
not this year. I went last year.
So I went this year, and one speaker came out and pretty much was like, SaaS is dead.
Hmm.
It's moved to like a RAS, result as a service product service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So like focus on what the results are, and then that specific result for the client, deliver that.
oh, okay. So that's kind of like instead of having
So instead of
a
having a
s-
Salesforce
yeah,
where
okay,
you go there and people input stuff, create a end-to-end solution for accountants,
okay,
specifically for tax people or
okay,
whatever, in like go deep and niche out completely,
yeah,
where now you're automating at least 95% of the sales process for a bookkeeping firm
yeah, okay.
versus a one to many, it's one to specific.
Yeah, okay. Well, so taxes are interesting. We both have some experience there
Yeah.
as well. So that's kind of a good one to talk about because, right now, there's platforms out there that could automate your taxes, do things like that. It's very much kind of a SaaS play. But what about if you just took that completely out and said, well, we're not going to have a website. There's no app. We're just going to deal with your taxes in the background, right? Then you just get a notification one day, yeah, my taxes were filed. Oh, great. Oh, there's my refund, right? But you don't do anything, right? Like that's the holy grail. The software is all back end. There's no front end software.
How do you get the information?
It would be AI connected to pretty much everything,
Mm.
you know, which
So,
will
so,
happen.
so my app that I'm creating on the website right now, it's like the app that will be forgotten. So,
Okay.
so that's kind of my where I would eventually want to get to.
Okay.
Where right now we need a front end just to gather the
Mm,
information,
yeah.
but eventually we automatically file your taxes and you're
Yeah.
never on the app
Right.
so that you don't need to do anything,
Yeah.
right? Go back to your point, even if now the next layer of that is you don't even have an app, you connect their CRA, their bank,
Right.
their chat GPT information,
Yeah.
gathers all their information, submit the taxes, and then go.
Yeah.
Right?
maybe have a verification layer in there,
Yeah.
just a little email just saying, "Hey, I'm about to file this. You okay with this?" And
Right.
maybe I think I would want that, but yeah,
But yeah,
like that would be amazing.
but it's crazy how that changes the script on. I ran an accounting company for 15 years. That
Yeah,
mindset is
yeah,
it's like what? Like
yeah,
that doesn't even make sense.
yeah.
That the possibility is there. Do you think like rules and regulations, policies will come into factor to prevent this from happening? Like
Mm,
CRA, they're adding more layers of security, which I completely get, which is
yeah,
making harder for automation to happen. Like
I
the
yeah, I
banks,
think
even like the double authentication now to get
yeah,
banking information. We don't have open banking in Canada,
yeah.
so it's a lot harder. Like there's a lot of stuff around that.
I think all these changes are going to happen. It's coming. Um, but I think there'll be some big companies that do really well from this. So maybe CRA select, three large partners or something that's going to allow their AI to, do all this kind of stuff, right? But maybe they're not going to let, the average Joe go and build an app and connect to CRA with their AI. So I'm sure it'll be something like that.
Mm.
It's going to happen because people will want it. And
What does this happen to small business owners? When we talk about white
mm,
collar workers, are you also talking small business owners too?
well, I mean, it's interesting because yeah, small businesses, maybe, I mean, they're going to be affected a lot. I mean, I talk to accounting firms and, you know, people, most people would say accounting firms are like first in the line of fire,
Mm.
right? And that the industry is going to be decimated, right? Because AI is going to take it over. But everybody I've
Do
talked
you
to,
believe that?
no, I used to, but I think what most people believe that I've talked to, and I kind of believe too now, is that there'll be more firms, not less, but it's going to be more kind of an individual personalized service, right?
Mm.
The human touch. And I think that kind of makes sense with things like your finances, taxes. You know, at the end of the day, you're going to want to speak to a human, right?
Mm.
You're okay with AI doing the heavy lifting,
Mm.
but at the end of the day, you want a human in the loop that's looking over things and just making sure they're guiding you in the right direction,
Mm.
because that's really important to you. And law is another area, right? Like if you're, God forbid, being charged with something and you're facing a trial, you know,
You
do you
want
want just AI or do you want some human there as well?
versus if you're doing a real estate transaction, maybe you can automate that whole
Yeah,
process or a will.
yeah, yeah. But I
But
mean, a lot of these things, or even like a divorce, right? If
right.
you're going through like a bad separation or
Yeah.
something, at some point, I think you're going to want a human in the loop, just helping guide that process.
Yeah, and if you're starting a business and you need to incorporate, you could probably automate that process.
Yeah,
But if you
absolutely.
have a rental property, holding company, a family trust, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, it could probably be automated, but I still want to talk to a human to make sure, you
absolutely.
know.
Yeah,
So, but at the same time, is your that's one that could be probably 10% of the population
yeah,
for a will using that. 95% of not well, I don't know how many people get divorced, but six X amount of people could be automated.
yeah,
The difference might need a litigator or a family person
yeah,
to help with that, which then someone coming out of school that can't go in and, argue a case,
yeah,
how are they going to get the experience from starting to defending a marriage, right? Or defending a
yeah,
spouse?
yeah. And I
It's a
think
huge gap.
yeah, and I think that's a really critical point as well. It's like, how do new people getting into industries get the experience now? If the entry level jobs are being handled by AI, how do you get to be a senior partner in a firm?
And it's funny because yesterday I posted on my LinkedIn, hey, I'm looking for a tax professional for the upcoming tax season. My app's going to do 80% of the heavy lifting, but I
Mm,
wanted someone to verify it. Before I send out the job description, anyone in my network has first dibs, send
mm.
me the information. I'm getting flooded
Oh wow.
with junior people
Oh, okay.
at like need reaching out and be like give me more information what's going like
Mm,
so I mean, for the last 10 years, I've never trying to find people
Yeah.
was hard.
Right.
N- Now it seems from just the 24 hours of data, it's like there's a lot more outreach to find work, especially the junior level jobs.
That's interesting. And I mean, I'm seeing that as well when you put a job posting up.
Mm,
Like I put a job posting up a few months ago and I put it on LinkedIn and it automatically shut down day one because I think there were 600 applicants. And it's just like, I can't deal with that. I don't want that. That's the last thing I need. I need,
right.
just like, give me a dozen applicants that I can take a look at. And
So why
you
don't
know,
you build an AI to filter all those?
people are doing that. I know some people that are playing in that space.
And
Yeah.
I do think resumes are gonna be obsolete,
Yes.
where it's gonna be, hey, do you have a social presence, a personal brand that
Hmm.
you can like that's another thing that if
Yeah.
you're starting out and you're building a social presence online
Yeah.
and building a personal brand of how you're learning and what you're doing
Absolutely.
to do it and you send that to an employer,
Yeah.
I guarantee you'll get hired way before
Yeah.
someone sending a million resumes out.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I was talking to somebody this week about that.
Mm,
And this was somebody, young person that's just about to finish school. And I said, forget the resumes. You need to be on LinkedIn. You need to be posting every day,
yeah,
build your network,
yeah,
because that's how you're going to get a job.
yeah.
It's not, sending in these random applications. And the thing is, these days, cover letters all look identical.
I know.
They're all generated by
Right.
ChatGPT. And it's just, for an employer, it's really frustrating because,
You're getting 600 applicants and they all look the same.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what are you gonna look at?
Yeah, and you can't. It's just too much.
Right.
Yeah.
So how are you changing your approach to hiring?
Um, I'm delaying. Like I'm delaying. I mean,
Because you
that's
think AI is gonna
there is that. Plus, also, it's just a real kind of it's a bit of a pain right now. Just that whole process. It should be a lot easier. And I know that there's some paid services I need to look at as well.
right.
But part of it as well is I am kind of trying to delay because I'm definitely trying to stay very lean.
Hmm,
Um, and the tools we're using are only going to get better and better.
I know.
So
So a business that j- and why I say winners and losers, like all I hear is software companies, I want to stay lean. I want to stay
mhm,
lean. I want to stay lean. But then you go to accounting firms, law firms, they can't keep up because they're not
right.
leveraging it and they're just hiring like crazy and they're not staying lean
Yeah,
because they have so much demand, right?
yeah.
Like how do they navigate this? Like how do they spend out I mean, let's talk about your business and what you
Mhm.
can do for these companies cuz I think that's a pain you're solving for these companies, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the pain we basically solve, we help make people more efficient, right?
Right.
So we take workflows that are kind of manual right now and just automate them. So a lot of the work we do is automation. AI is kind of a smaller part of it. But yeah, we make things a lot easier, make people more efficient.
So you'd go into an accounting company, a law firm,
Yeah,
and look at all their processes
yeah.
and then give them recommendations of how they can save money and time.
Yeah, we basically do like an audit where we just look at everything and look for the kind of the low hanging fruit, right? Okay, so these things would have a big impact. The cost is not too high, and there's always stuff like that, right? So those are the kind of things we look for, and very much do it on a project, on a project basis. So
And if people wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
I'm very active on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and my company is Zentia AI.
And is it a certain range of the audit from a cost perspective, or it depends on the company?
Well, we've actually so I used to do kind of quotes for this, and depending on size of the company. One thing I started doing recently, which has gone over pretty well, is we do an audit for $995,
Okay,
$1,000. Well, we have a couple of calls with you, get all the information, we create a report
nice.
for you. So that's going pretty well. People are getting value from that. And it also kind of helps us find those opportunities. And then, we hope that obviously they'll come and talk to us about the things they want to do. So,
And then transitioning to your, personal life,
Hmm.
um, you need a certain mindset to be an entrepreneur, not be an entrepreneur, do all the stuff. What experiences have you gone through to kind of put you in a situation where you've developed, a mindset where you can cope or handle, stress, anxiety, nervousness around the highs and lows of business and all that? Like, what are your experiences with that?
Well, I mean, I think I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm always learning. I'm always working on mindset, things like that. Um, but very, very kind of personal growth orientated as well. But I've definitely struggled in the past with stress, just managing businesses, and just from a mental point of view, like the constant thinking, right? My brain would never shut off, right? That was a problem for a long time. Where you're always thinking about the business weekend, whatever, whenever. It's just you're thinking about it 24/7, not getting enough sleep, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely struggled a lot with that. Um, and things I did to deal with that. So I was always a bit of a drinker, just from the culture in England when I was younger. Um, but I definitely started using alcohol as a way to kind of just quieten down my mind, deal with that stress, and that worked really well for a while.
Mhm.
But then you get to a point where it doesn't work as well anymore. Um, I definitely got into the point where I had a real problem with alcohol, and I was a high functioning alcoholic for a number of years there, and tried to quit a few times. Got very, I did quit a few times, but I always kind of ended up going back to it. And that was really challenging, right? And I was a textbook high functioning alcoholic, right? I would drink most days, and I was an afternoon drinker as well
Mm,
because I didn't want it to mess with my sleep, so I
mm,
tend to drink in the afternoon. So, and especially with the whole kind of Zoom culture as well, and not
mm.
doing so much in person, COVID, all this. I was the perfect environment for me with my drinking. So um, I had a lot of low points with alcohol. Some real low points, but uh, about just over a year ago, I quit, and I went to AA one morning. It was just kind of enough is enough. I got to try something different. So did that. That was over 14 months ago, and that's been a life changing experience. Um, Very tough to stop, quit. First few months, very, very difficult. But now I'm at the point where I don't think about alcohol, don't want it, don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. My life is way better, without it. Um, so that's been quite a journey. It's been quite a journey. And I've only just started talking about that very recently. Like nobody knew about that.
And now, how do you cope with quieting your mind?
Yeah, it's something I still struggle with. I still struggle with not getting enough sleep. Um, there's one thing I did pick up about a year ago, and that was Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Mm,
And I really enjoy that. It's a great workout. It's great mentally, physically. But I find when I'm in the gym there doing that, it's the only thing I'm thinking about.
mm.
Right? It's just I'm only focused on one thing for an hour, and it's kind of like you know it's it's meditation where you get kind of beat up as well at the same
Right.
time.
You can't think of anything else but protecting yourself.
Yeah, yeah, you're just totally focused on that. So yeah, that's really helped. Um, yeah, but I'm not much of a meditator. I try. I know it would be good for me, but it's something I need to do better at. Um,
And it's crazy because being an entrepreneur, the success of it is being obsessed with it.
yeah, yeah.
But people don't realize you can't just turn it off, too.
Well, something I've come to realize recently is I have a very addictive brain,
Yeah.
right? Very, very, I'm very prone to addiction, right?
Mm,
Um, not ever, and it's like, I've done weed before, but
Mm,
weed was nothing I could get addicted to,
mm,
right? It never happened like that. But business and work, that is also kind of an addiction.
yeah,
And when you're thinking about something all the time, then that is kind of an addiction,
yeah.
right? And it's like when I was drinking, I used to think about drinking all the time. I'd wake up and I think, okay, what am I drinking today and when?
Mm,
And it was always on my mind, right? And it's the same with business. So
mm,
I'm trying to get more balance in my life. I'm very, I don't want to kind of repeat mistakes of the past where I get so focused on business that I let my family life fall apart. Or
mm,
so balance is very important to me,
mm.
even if that comes at the cost of growing the business, whatever. It's like I got to look after myself first. That's a change that I got now that I didn't have in my 30s. It was just
And yeah, that resonates with me a lot because when I started my business, it was 12, 14, 16-hour days, 7 days a week. Um, my wife, fortunately or unfortunately, I think
mhm,
fortunately for me, where she grew up with her dad being a business owner, her mom was a stay-at-home mom. So she kind of understood
right,
that and understood me, which if I didn't have that, I don't know what I would do.
yeah,
But now that I have kids, I'm seeing the second venture. So I sold it 3 years ago. Now I'm starting a new venture, and I'm going back into family and work,
mm,
where the last 3 years it's been friends, sports, work, family. There's a
yeah,
lot more balance.
yeah,
And now I'm going towards just two balances, which at the end of the day, there's no joy for me. I mean,
mhm,
I love work, I love my
mhm,
family, but friends are important.
yeah,
Community, community is important. Sports are like a lot more. You can't just have 1 hour of joy or half an
no,
hour of joy when
no,
you're just responding to emails. And the thing is with business, and this is the awareness that I'm going through right now. You're either all in, unfortunately,
yeah,
or like you're all out.
yeah,
And finding that balance, I definitely love to continue to speak with you to see how you're going to navigate that and you're navigating it, because I could see how an addiction to work, and I probably am the perfect candidate for that,
mhm,
of I just go all in and then I go all in. And then I always, when your foot's at the pedal all the time, something's going to give.
yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Health, whatever, something has to give if you
yeah,
don't have a balance. And my dad is all about balance. So I always have
mhm,
him in my back of my mind,
yeah,
like, go to the soccer, don't worry about the work. Like he's kind of
yeah,
programmed me in a very positive way around that.
yeah.
Um, does that
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot more awareness around mental health now,
yeah.
right? I think we've started talking a lot more about stuff like this because 20 years ago, people didn't really talk about it. And, so I went at it really hard business wise. You know, my lifestyle was terrible. Most of my meals I would eat out, all liquid lunch most days. But it's always your networking, business meetings, all this. But
There's always an excuse.
yeah, but it was, I mean, I was so unhealthy,
Right.
like so unhealthy. I mean, I'm lucky I didn't have a heart attack or
Mm,
or something. I mean, I could have quite easily. Well, I actually, so there was one point where I collapsed and thought I was having a heart attack,
mm,
and the blood had drained from my face. I was, and I'm on my knees and I'm like, I'm dying. This is it. And I'd had an operation, remove my gallbladder, and so what had happened was a gallstone had got kind of left behind or something, caused a blockage. So the symptoms were exactly the same as a heart attack.
mm,
Um, and uh, and I remember being in the back of the ambulance going to the hospital, and the first thing that went through my mind was like, "This is crazy. Everything I've been doing work wise, this is why this has happened.
mm,
It's down in my lifestyle, and I got to change. If I survive this, it's got to change."
mm,
And I survived it, and nothing changed.
mm.
Nothing changed. Yeah.
because it was related to the gallbladder and you just compensated with that?
Yeah, your brain is just
Yeah.
like, well, okay,
It
yeah. I mean, that
wasn't
was
work.
bad,
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, it's not because of anything, and
Right.
you just go straight back into it's. The work for me was like an addiction.
Mm.
Um, and one thing I've realized recently as well, to be addicted to work doesn't mean you have to be working 16 hours a day.
Correct.
You could just be doing 9 to 5,
Right.
but if you're thinking about it all the time, evenings, weekends, if that's kind of what you're prioritizing as well, then it kind of is like an addiction.
Mm.
And back in my 30s, I did it was my top priority. And I said things to myself in my brain was, well, I'm doing this for my kids,
Right.
which was bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
It was because I wanted to do this. I wanted to,
Yeah. It's an
you know,
ego thing.
yeah, I wanted to do the whole thing. And, so it did cost me my health, cost me, relationships. Yeah, it cost me a lot.
But back to the original of like you being born with being an entrepreneur
Hmm.
and like always thinking like it's your superpower too.
It is because I'm always looking for opportunities. There's always things,
Especially now with AI. I mean, you're
oh, it's, yeah, it's like, um,
but
yeah, it's like a superpower.
do you ever like and I'm not a psychologist, like I don't know. I'm just talking out loud.
Mhm.
Has there ever come a point where like fighting it might make it worse? Meaning trying to calm your mind down. Like maybe you just won't get enough like
I
maybe
Yeah. I I mean, the only thing that I've done in the last 20 years, I took a at one point, I was pretty stressed out. I took a job.
hmm,
So I took a job for a year. I thought I still kind of did a little bit, but I thought I'm just going to take a break and just, kind of coast for a year. So it was a job, reasonably well paid, good company. But the first couple of months, it was kind of novel, and it's like, oh, all these people are dealing with problems I don't have to deal with, and this is nice. I can just do my thing. But after a couple of months, it started to get miserable, and then near the end, I was just like, I cannot do this
hmm,
anymore. I'm so depressed, and it was kind of like when I was back at JDS, and I thought,
hmm.
I'm not cut out for this. I'm not cut out for this. So
Is the solution or where your mind is going if you have a balanced
my solution is to try and keep balanced
right,
and try and switch off. So I don't generally check emails in the evening.
hmm.
5 o'clock, I'm having dinner, and I try not to check messages, anything like that in the evening.
And has
Um,
it helped the last 14 months? Like you feel more grounded?
Different person.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like,
So what's your day-to-day routine now? Just I'm trying to help
mm,
people that might be answering that
I
email at 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock and are
yeah,
just working 95% for that goal or result.
yeah. I mean,
What's the practical kind of day in the life?
so I'm not big on my phone. I'm not. I don't use my phone a lot. I'm on my computer, obviously, a lot more. But I definitely have quiet time and messages. Deep work pockets in my calendar are really important. I start really early. I don't recommend this to anybody, but I'm generally up at 3 a.m.
Mm,
Do I, journal when I get up, have coffee, and I kind of get into some deep work, do some stuff. 5 o'clock, I have a workout. Um, then my family starts getting up around 6, so I spend time with them. I'll go for a walk, maybe, get the kids out the door, and then I get to work, and that works really well for me because I'm kind of an early riser anyway. And then, mid afternoon, some days I can stop. Right, I've put a good shift in, so I can spend some time with my family, pick my boy up off the school bus, because stuff like that is important,
mm,
right? And so I rarely want to be at the point where if my boy says, "Can you take me to the bus?" Or pick me up. I never want to say no,
agreed.
right? Because that's just like stuff like that is too important, and kids are they're
They grow up
they're
so
young
yeah,
for such a short time.
yeah.
So my family comes first,
Mm,
and I definitely prioritized my family last year. And so I had a business plan for the year. Definitely did not make what I was trying to make, because I took a lot of time off. I had family over in the summer. I spent time with my family, camping, stuff like that. And you just can't put a price on that,
yeah.
right? And I think if you miss out on stuff like that, you'll regret it.
Hmm.
Right. So I kind of had two lives. I got my two daughters from, over 20 years ago. And I'm a very different dad to my two young boys now than I am my daughters, unfortunately, because I'm older and wiser.
Yeah, mature. Yeah. And what time do you go to bed at? If you wake up at 3 o'clock.
I generally like 8:30, 8:40. Yeah,
Okay, so
is
you're
when yeah. And so my kids, they're young. They go to bed around
you're with
9,
them.
something. Like, we try to stay up. It's like, wait, can we? No, let's just yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Before I get into the lightning round, is there
Mm,
anything else that you think would be important for people starting out in it, already done it? Like we've talked about the beginning of it, the middle
yeah,
of it, and the now looking at the whole picture, right?
yeah,
And not just looking through a glass.
yeah.
Um, anything that you think,
People starting out right now, I would say, be curious, look at a lot of different things, um, and just the amount of possibilities out there right now, it's crazy. That AI is helping. You can start a company now with by yourself, whereas a few years ago you would have needed a team of people. So the possibilities. What an amazing time to be alive. Um, but also just I think balance is really important. You got to look after yourself, number one, like prioritize your own health, because when you don't have your own health, like you got nothing. So and I think more and more people are realizing that right
yeah,
now. It's definitely more the culture of get yourself into a good place first, and then get to work, right?
yeah,
That is so important. Like,
mhm,
if anybody told me, well, yeah, I'm just trying to build this company, I'm working 16-hour days, that would be a major red flag, because
mm,
it's
not
not
sustainable.
it's not sustainable. And you're gonna there's gonna be a cost in other areas of your
Yeah,
life. And sometimes, let's be honest, like most of these businesses we start don't work out,
yeah,
right? You always think, well, what if I make it and turns into the next
all right,
Amazon, whatever, but most of the time it doesn't. And then when you get to the end and it's cost you your family or your
yeah,
health, whatever, it's not worth it. So
yeah,
find that balance. It may take a little bit longer, but that's okay.
yeah,
And especially if you're young. My
yeah.
God, if you're young, it's like
Do it.
you've got the time,
Yeah.
right? You've got the time.
That was one of the biggest things that I did after university. I started it before I started a family, and I had just more time.
Mm,
And it was just the best thing that could happen
yeah,
because you don't have the experience, but you have time.
yeah,
And, time is actually more valuable than
yeah,
experience because you can learn
absolutely. Yeah.
it. So going to the lightning round,
Mm,
I'm going to ask you a few questions.
okay.
Um, what is the first workflow you look for when you walk into a firm that wants AI?
I think it's around a lot of repetitive emails coming in and automating that.
What is the biggest mistake firms make in their first 30 days of AI adoption?
Mm, I think it comes before that. I think it's maybe unrealistic expectations. They don't realize there's a learning period. Yeah.
What is the what is a popular AI myth you wish would die in accounting and legal operations?
That AI can handle onboarding. It's a lot more complex than you'd think.
If you could fix one thing about deploying AI in cloud platforms, what would it be?
Oh, I mean, just making some of these platforms easier to use. They're still extremely difficult. I have two support tickets open right now. Like,
Hmm.
so challenging.
What is one question leaders should ask their team before rolling out AI tools?
What do you think about AI? Are you positive or negative about AI? Because that tells you a lot about the people you have.
From
Some people are threatened by it. Some people are excited by it.
when you do your audit, do you ask those questions?
We do, yeah,
Yeah,
we do.
I could just imagine because you can implement whatever, but if people are not going to use it, you're wasting your money.
Yeah, and it seems to be typically people are like 50-50. Half the people are excited by it, half people are like threatened. They feel like they're going to lose their jobs.
Mm,
And there's definitely some education that has to be given that. So
How does a business owner handle that?
I think it's on them to communicate with their team. I'm not trying to lay everybody off here. I'm trying to make people more efficient so you can do other things that add more value to the business.
How do you decide whether a process is a good automation candidate?
I think it comes down to two things, the rate of return there and the level of effort, right?
Build versus buy. When should a firm use off the shelf tools versus custom workflows?
I think most of the time they should be looking to get off the shelf these days, unless it's something really specialized.
How do you set boundaries in around confidentiality, client data, and model usage, like within accounting and legal firms?
So we generally tend to use platforms that are all self-contained. So for example, if we're using OpenAI, we'll use Azure, keep everything in one environment.
How do you get partners and managers to adopt new workflows when billable time pressure is real?
That's a good question, and I'm not sure the answer. It's Everybody's different there, and some partners are for it, some are against. Um,
Yeah, that must be a tough one
yeah,
because they're trying to produce to make money to pay for everything, and now AI is coming and it's like
yeah,
it's a cost before benefit.
yeah. There's and the sales process. There's definitely like an education piece there, and
Yeah,
I always end up kind of talking about what the future looks like, just to try and gauge where people are at.
right. How do you think about workforce impact, AI plus offshoring, and what that means for junior roles and training pipelines?
I think junior roles that are the roles that are really kind of at risk right now, and where you're going to see a lot of the um, people looking for work.
What problem do you most want someone to solve in the AI tool ecosystem right now?
Mm, um, Probably just dealing with hallucinations
Hmm.
better. Yeah.
What are you personally building or experimenting when you're and one that you're excited about? Is there one project that you talked about the passion project?
Yeah.
Is that
So I'll tell you what that is.
yeah?
That's basically like a social platform,
Hmm.
with no ads, no data tracking. It's very kind of clean, but it's kind of a positive area with groups. So kind of different areas. So like wellness, personal growth, health. So trying to build kind of like a platform environment for groups like that, where people can kind of connect and not be part of the whole kind of big data ads and all that.
And then the closing question is, if you can leave a sticky note on your first laptop before you ever got started, what would it say?
Find a mentor. Find a mentor, I think, for me.
Well, Julian, I really appreciate you taking the time to coming down here. I know you're a little, from Brockville, not too far away, but I appreciate you telling your story, be vulnerable, and just laying out the practicality of your journey that can help so
Mm.
many other people in their early stage. You've been through it all, from JDS to
Mhm.
you know raising money to leaving that to starting your firm to going through everything from a business, personal, marriage, family, different countries. Like,
Yeah.
your experience has been great, and I'm really happy that you've the last 14 months have found the path of
Mm.
where you're have the most joy and grounded, and you can definitely express it in your face and your emotion. And I do think you sharing this journey really is if it helps one person, I think
Oh, absolutely.
it's worth it. So, where can I know we talked about it in the podcast, but where can people find you and the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best way. Yeah, Julian White, and Zentia AI is my services company.
Perfect. Thanks, Julian.
Yeah. Thanks so much, David.